hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You even hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Good evening, Cayman. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks. It's a pleasure to be back with you this evening. Yes, and we're going from budgets to rights. Cayman's Watchdogs, the Auditor General and the Ombudsman, protects your money and your rights. But what happens when the Ombudsman is pressured, be it direct or indirect? And why should every Caymanian care about independence, transparency, and accountability? From the courtroom to the Constitution, this episode I will aim to break it down. No fluff, no fear, just facts. Because independence matter. I'm Sabrina, and this is another Sabrina Speaks. I'll be right back after this message.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage is pleased to announce that the nominations for the 2026 National Recognition Awards are now open. Nominate individuals and groups who played a key role in developing the Cayman Islands' physical infrastructure. The categories include landmark leaders, infrastructure innovators, and the builders of Cayman. Visit gov.ky/YSCH. Click on the Nominate button to make a nomination. Here is a step-by-step guide to fill out the form. Before starting, please read the instructions, the award categories, and the eligibility criteria. Step 1. Enter your personal information and select the award category for the person or group you are nominating. Click Yes to confirm that your nominee meets the criteria. Step 2. Enter the nominee's full name, date of birth, and district. Indicate their current status, whether living or deceased, and ensure you have the current contact information for your nominee and their next of kin. Fill out the submission detail and provide any supporting documents and a reference to support your nomination. Step 3. Review your submission and make any changes by clicking the previous button. When you are ready, confirm and agree to the terms and click Submit Form to make your nomination. A thank you notice will confirm that the nomination was received, and a copy of the application will be sent to your email. Your nomination will be reviewed and considered by the National Recognition Awards Committee, and only successful nominees will be contacted and recognized at next year's National Heroes Day ceremony. The deadline to make a nomination is October 15. Remember, you can submit multiple nominations or browse our frequently asked questions by visiting the National Recognition Awards tab at gov.ky/YSCH. We look forward to receiving your nomination.
And welcome back to this episode of Sabrina Speaks. It is a pleasure to be here again. And because that deadline has been extended until the 31st, I thought it's very important for me to share that with you. Oh, yes, Very, very, very important to share that with you. But wherever you're tuning in from, good morning, good afternoon, good night to our global family, and welcome to another soul-stirring edition of Sabrina Speaks. Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world. Yes, and the podcast where voices rise and stories unfold. Inspiration definitely takes center stage. It is a pleasure to be back here with you. And before we go into the crooks and crannies, let me give you the latest that was just posted by our national our local, the National Hurricane Center. Here continues its advisories on Tropical Storm Melissa. Now, this was just posted less than like a minute ago. And the official forecast takes the system southeast of Jamaica as a possible hurricane on Sunday, the 25th of October. A westward motion is expected, and the system could become a major hurricane on Sunday, the 26th of October, when the system is forecasted to be south to southwest of Jamaica. Now, based on the latest track, this storm poses no immediate threat to the Cayman Islands. However, given the uncertainty of how the system will ultimately track, residents are urged to continue to closely monitor the updates using official channels and information. We're also advising you to take advantage of the sandbag stations as well and make sure that you check your supplies. Yes, this is very important. You're seeing here, I have a first aid kit essentials. Make sure that you top up on all your prescription drugs and all of that sort of stuff. Check your supplies, review your family plan. If you're in a flood prone area, you want to make sure that you're taking all the necessary precautions. Now, it is expected for the next update. You will hear, of course, the repeat of this on the 6 o'clock news, but a next update will be provided on or around 10:30 later on this evening. And for the latest weather updates, you're encouraged to visit www.weather.gov.ky, and also for preparedness tips, you can visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky as well. We just want to make sure that we have everybody informed. And I know that there's a lot of information in circulation out there with all of the different media houses and weather online podcasters as well that are sharing information. But it's also good to see exactly what's happening here with what we're seeing with this tropical system. Oh my God, it's just like this big blob just sitting there. I heard one forecaster saying it's walking at the pace of a human being. Yeah, like 2 miles an hour. I guess that's based on pace, but that was what they're actually comparing it to. And that was interesting. But welcome to everyone. And tonight, my aim is this evening, we're going to pull back a curtain on two of the most important but often misunderstood roles here in our democracy. And those two roles are the Auditor General and the Ombudsman. Now, if you've been following Sabrina Speaks, you'll remember that in a previous episode, and I think we spoke about it at least 2 times, I broke down the role of the Auditor General and who is the financial watchdog who follows the money and asks the hard questions and makes sure public funds are spent in the public's interest, right? But in this episode of Sabrina Speaks this evening, I wish to put our focus on the Ombudsman. And I told you I was going to break them down. Who is, in this case, the role is the people's watchdog. She doesn't just audit budgets, she audits fairness. And let me double check something here. She audits fairness and she investigates complaints, protects your information. The role defends your rights and ensures that when the system fails, someone is there to say, this isn't right. And right now, the role, that position is under pressure because you're seeing, based on headlines that is out there, the Ombudsman, that is the role is currently held right now by Sharon Rolston, has taken legal action against the governor of the Cayman Islands, challenging a disciplinary process she calls unlawful and fundamentally unfair. This isn't just a personal issue. This is a constitutional moment. Now, I aim to explore what the Ombudsman role is, what they do or what that position should do in their execution of their duties, why independence matters, and what it takes, and what's at stake then if this role become politicized or even weakened or directly bullied. Because when our watchdogs are watched, bullied in the most subtle way, or worse, muzzled, we must ask, who's left to protect the people? 936-8255 is the number to call and join in on the conversation, or drop me a comment below, because I'm streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and all CMR social media channels. And I want to thank all of my followers, my subscribers, and page visitors as well, aka the scrollers. I appreciate all of you, because the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and our participants, is intended solely for general, informational, and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for your specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any discussions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented here. Yes. Hi, Marshall. Good evening to you. It is a pleasure to actually have you here again with me today. Jack, good evening. I missed you. I sent out an APB for you the other day. I noticed you haven't been commenting, even though sometimes you're in the background, but it's good. It's good to see you comment here. I missed you. I didn't see you on the comment thing, and I was wondering, Shaka Zulu, oh yeah, they were busy. Damien Henry, good evening. Good evening to you. Connie Bonnie, it's good to see you as well. Barbara G, and good evening to Donnie. Donnie, how are you? Now, we're noticing, I've given you the latest on the weather, and I just want you all to keep abreast of all that's going on there. And we have tonight the talent show. I don't see where anything for this evening's talent show for the older persons has been, that it's been canceled. Nothing has been placed in the public's domain. That's going to be at the Lion Center this evening. So that's still going on. But what I did notice on one post, that their sports event is canceled for the sports day for Saturday right now has been canceled. So right now, from all accounts, what I'm seeing right now, that the event scheduled for tonight is still on. And Friday, remember, Friday's Dress Down Day in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So real men wear pink. And I want to see, I'm hoping some of you'd be bold enough to share with me privately, you in your pink outfit. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So I'm still trying to come up with what I'm going to put on for Friday. But it shouldn't be short of anything pink. But let's do it. It's just not about putting on the clothes, but understanding the significance of what we're doing the awareness and putting this awareness on. Yeah. So, Hey, Donna, how you doing? Don't cuss me here. Love you lots. Good evening, my girl. How are you doing? I'm cool. I'm just giving thanks every day, and I trust that everybody there is doing fine as well. Thank you for commenting, and for your dedication here to the space. And I hope that everyone is appreciating what I'm trying to do, whether or not you are in agreement with how I deliver, but I aim to be fair and neutral. And I respect everyone, that they're entitled to their own opinions, but I will not stop from putting a highlight on what I have to do here. And, at the end of the day, that's what this space is. We can agree to disagree as long as we do it respectfully. And it is my pleasure to put the spotlight, bring highlight on topical issues, not to tell you that certain things locally will not make its head, but sometimes you got to make the dust settle, and you just got to bring it from an informative perspective, and let's see where it goes. But yeah, it is indeed a pleasure for me to engage in these topical conversation. I am so grateful for all of you who comment. I am even more grateful for those who tune in, call in, and contribute as well, because the silent majority cannot remain silent, and silence does not solve anything. And we're talking about how government functions should be and stop working in silos. That's exactly how every citizen should look at life as well. No man is an island, and we shouldn't live like that either. Mr. Mattox, good evening. How are you? God bless you from Jamaica. Oh, my thoughts and prayers are for all of you, especially those in the Kingston side of things, because you guys are going to be getting some serious rains in a couple of days. And I'm seeing where everything there, and they're giving all of the warnings and precautions. Yeah. So, Mr. Mattox, all the best to you, and thoughts and prayers are for all of those people over there in Jamaica. Levonna, how are you, my love? Hope you're doing well. Yes, Donna. Great. Thank you, Miss Donna. Thanks for that update. But yeah, let's get into this whole what's going on here, and for the sake of education. And I will welcome persons to join in on this conversation, because I know a lot of legal minds are out there. And not only that, not that they're out there, that they are in tune. And I feel for the purpose of this, it was context matters. And this is why I want to pretty much break down into the role of the ombudsman, so that one would not assume, oh, I'm for or against the individual. My aim is to be neutral. My aim is to be objective and to just tell you what the roles are. You tie in exactly what's happening now, because you're seeing what's happening in the headlines at the right time, but only after you understand and have the context and the importance of the role. And why I say those two roles is because those two roles are significant. And then that begs to question, which I will not cede you. You will actually come to your own conclusions if what we're smelling is actually becoming a reality, but not before giving you the solid foundation, breaking down what the role is and what the role matters, what should matter to you, and actually to our very own democracy. So my aim is to dive into the roles of the Ombudsman and the Auditor General, two of Cayman's most powerful, but yet, yes, misunderstood public watchdog. And really what happens when the Ombudsman is under pressure? And why should every Caymanian care about independence, transparency, and accountability? Now, when we're talking about the courtroom to the Constitution, yeah, that's interesting. But I want you to drop your thoughts below, because democracy does not only work when we do, that's only how it works. And as often as I say it, silence is not the solution. And the silent majority, you will keep hearing me say that, can no longer remain silent. Now let's go into what the definition of the ombudsman is. You hear it being used all the time. A public watchdog, that role, we're talking about the role of the ombudsman. It's a public watchdog who ensures fairness, transparency, and accountability in government and policing. Now, from an overall global context, the Ombudsman Office exists worldwide. And the main purpose of that office is to protect citizens from abuse of power. This role, from a global context, exists all over the world. And its primary focus and purpose is to protect its citizens from abuse of power. Now, in our Cayman context, right, back in 2017, that's when it was established. The Office of the Ombudsman was established back in 2017, and it is an independent of government. That's a department that's totally independent of government. And like the Auditor General, reports to Parliament. Remember, the Parliament is the house of the people. When the MPs go down to the Parliament, they take off their ministerial hat. And when they come in Parliament, they are the voice of every constituent that has elected them to political office. Okay? So I'm hoping that you understand the definition in Cayman context and global context about the ombudsman. Okay? So the mere fact of what they actually do day to day, case by case, complaint by complaint, because this isn't just theory, the role, it's actually real life, okay? So what do they really do? As I said, they're looking at oversight for you. They investigate complaints and complaints about government services, about government decisions. They investigate complaints about police misconduct. They investigate complaints about data breaches and misuse of personal information. They investigate complaints about freedom of information appeals. And guess what? They also investigate complaints about the whistleblower disclosures. So mishandled, let's say for an example, there's a mishandled police complaints or denied freedom of information requests, if you've been a victim of these things, or let's say even unfair treatment by public agencies. These are some of the real life examples that that role, that office can investigate, okay? So we've seen really very high level the scope of the work, the role of the ombudsman, from police complaints to data protection. But you may then wonder, why does this even matter in democracy? That's just another job. Aha, that's important. We keep hearing you all complain about accountability and independence, and it's like the laws are there, but it's only for some people, like Caymanians feel disenfranchised, But if you realize the role of the Ombudsman and the Auditor General, it ties right into democracy and why it matters. You may even say, well, why do I care? It's just somebody just trying to be ousted out. No. Why should you care? I'm hoping that I'd be able to break it down. You should care, in all honesty, because of it upholds the rights that is really enshrined in the Cayman Islands Constitution. And that's constitutional significance. It protects the public from abuse, neglect, or even unfair treatment. And it also ensures that government transparency and accountability as well. And that's why the role matters in democracy. But more than that, it also builds trust between citizens and institutions like your government agencies. Because what happens then when this role is questioned, right? That's when things really get serious. Because this constitutional safeguard could be threatened based on what we're seeing in headlines. And if that happened, the role in itself, the office in itself, is weakened. Because if it's politicized, if there's loss of impartiality, these are all risks. Fear of retaliation from complaints, the erosion of public trust, and if abolished or defunded, underfunded, no independent resources will be there for citizens. There's then increased risk of corruption, abuse, and really and truly vulnerable communities, everyday citizens, will become voiceless. Those are the risks. So when we see these things, it's like almost like flashing lights. And we've seen that this is not the first time, okay? We've seen what could go wrong. But we also need to look at what does true independence look like by the sheer size of our jurisdiction. We see where everybody knows everybody. This Cayman kind, they say, is really too kind. It's like we're taken of. And then you may ask, what then does true independence look like? Because if this is what's happening to the point that that role has to actually seek judicial review, and I'll go a little bit into detail as to what that is, how do we protect it then? Protect the independence. You got to understand and know the power of independence. Yes. And you got to also understand why it matters. Because with independence, there is absolutely no political interference. With independence in this role for the context of this podcast, you will get fair outcomes based on facts and not influence. With true independence, citizens will then have a feeling that they're safe to speak up and speak out. It wouldn't be a matter of culture or personality if you are sure that there's real independence and the power of independence. But then you look at then how independence would be protected in this case. The main reason it is structured that it reports directly to Parliament and not Cabinet signals how the independence is protected. Yeah, just by its very near structure that they're not answering to the governor. They're not answering to members of Cabinet. They report directly to Parliament and not the Cabinet. And there are legal safeguards under the Ombudsman law as well. So when you see or you feel that someone is being disenfranchised because of doing their job, or someone may not like them, you may say, well, what can we do as citizens, as voters, as community members? Spaces like this is where you can talk, but also this is a hub for getting information. And this is why I felt it was important for me to share it in context before diving into the actual article. Okay? Because we need to talk about the awareness, which is why I'm bringing it, how I'm bringing it. We also need to talk about action and how we defend the defenders. Because the silence, as we are talking about, can no longer remain silent. People are getting frustrated. And then you may ask the question, well, how can we engage without being blackballed? The first sign of that is pretty much knowing your rights. Knowing your rights. You have the ability as well to file complaints when mistreated. And Caymanians can engage by supporting transparency and accountability. Meaning we have to come together as a unified body, as a unified jurisdiction. There's nothing wrong, I say it all the time here. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. And when I say ask questions like, is the ombudsman being resourced properly? Is there a funding issue? Is one being stifled because they're doing their job? You need to ask the questions like, are complaints being handled fairly? And you can ask questions like, are we protecting this office from political pressures or other pressures? Because you can't just sit around and not say anything. And maybe the reason why you do that now is because you don't know your rights. And this is why it's important for me to highlight the roles of the ombudsman, stress on the role of the independence of the ombudsman and the Auditor General. We will go into then what happens then when the watchdog is watched. Yes. But let me ask you something, Cayman. Again, feel free to weigh in on this. 345-936-8255. What happens when every person tasked with holding power accountable is suddenly then placed or put under pressure? Let me ask that question. Because this isn't the first time. And this is why I'll go into this particular article right now. Yeah. Our ombudsman right now, Sharon Rolstone, has filed for judicial review against none other than her very own Excellency, the Governor Jane Owen. And you may ask why? Based on what's in the public's domain, because she believes that the disciplinary process launched against her is not just unfair. Ms. Sharon feels it's unlawful. And more than that, she says it threatens the independence of her constitutional office. Now pause with me here. If you realize everything that I said about the importance of independence, the very structured way the office is designed, who it falls under, and the importance as why it falls under Parliament, you will understand why anyone holding that role would do exactly what is being done. This isn't just a workplace dispute, you know. This is a constitutional alarm bell that's being sounded. Yeah, that's what's happening. So allow me to kind of break it down in plain terms from what I read from the article. The role of the ombudsman acts as a public referee in layman's terms. And that role investigates complaints against government, departments, policeman misconduct, data breaches, and even more. The key takeaway from this is that she doesn't answer to the cabinet. She does not take sides. She answers to the people through Parliament. But if the governor, the UK's representative, can discipline or try to, muddy the waters with what is being alleged, or even try to remove her without due process, what does that then say about the independence of the very office and the role? What does that say about our democracy? Imagine this. Imagine that you file a complaint about how you were treated by a government agency. And we have heard many of complaints here. You trust that the ombudsman, once you make a report, will investigate fairly, correct? But then behind the scenes, that role is being pressured themselves. They're also being investigated or possibly disciplined. It's in the public's domain. Would you still feel safe coming forward? Would you still believe the system works or would work for you? This legal challenge is about more than one woman. It's really about whether our institutions are truly independent or only independent until they make someone or some persons uncomfortable. That's the facts. It's about whether Caymanians can trust that our rights, our information, and even our complaints are protected by someone who can't be silenced or sidelined. To be honest with you, I'm not here to take sides this evening. I never do. And this is why I come from a neutral, informative perspective. I am not here to take sides. The courts will decide whether or not the process was lawful. But I am here to say this: we must pay attention, because if the watchdog can be watched, or worse, muzzled, intimidated, bullied, then who's really protecting the people? Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Your show keeps getting better.
Well, if I get that from you, I deserve a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Good evening.
Well, these are evening. These are just very important issues.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And we should be talking about them.
Correct. Thank you so much. I hope you understand where I'm going. Caller that's calling on WhatsApp, just give this caller their time and you can call back. I could be honest with you. A lot of people like yourself wanted me to dissect the immigration, but Ms. Sandra will be having representative from government on her show, as she said this morning, and there are other things that are going on. So I'll leave that. But I did.
The only problem with that is that, you know, them telling us their spin on it is not the same as us getting a marked up copy of the law, red letter showing the amendments, that we can look at it for ourselves.
Which is how I wanted to present it. But this is why I'm saying I don't want to, oh my God, there's only one topic. This is huge, Denny. This is huge what I'm talking about right now.
I know.
And it's going to make that immigration legislation look like anything if this is questioned.
Well, the reason I'm calling right now, right, is I want to refer to me raising the issue of civil servants refusing to respect Section 19 of the Constitution. Okay? When I raised that with the premier on your show, some people might think that that was a bit disconnected. But the point that I was making was crystal clear in my mind, which is this. How do you convince me that if you're ignoring the Constitution right now, presently, okay? How do I feel comfortable that somehow you're going to respect rules that you made up yourself about my rights, my privacy, how you can penalize me when money is going to be involved?
But now you understand why the topics and why I'm taking my time and breaking it down. People are more understanding of exactly what you're saying now because of how we've approached certain things in the space. You would tell that to somebody 3 weeks ago, they wouldn't understand what you're saying.
And one more point I want to make. He was making reference to how I don't remember what the body was that he called. I don't know if it was some public standards committee or whatever, but he was basically saying that they could make recommendations about, you know, how they should behave. And I objected to that because what he was suggesting is that people that they put on these
boards and councils,
that they, because they're friends, they're political friends, right? And I doubt very much the people who are appointed to those boards like that, these are political appointments, is going to go against the people who appointed them. Now, let me say it very clearly. There are always exceptions.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
I personally believe that Sharon, the ombudsman, is one of those exceptions. She's a very she is a by the book person. Okay. And but generally speaking, I have seen it over many years that people who are appointed to certain positions, they do what is good for their political ambitions.
Yes.
And when it comes to how that technology is going to impact our life, it's not just knowing what your date of birth is. It's like being able to punish you Okay, you need to let that sink in, like just cut you off in ways that change your life forever.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something you leave up to buddies. You need to make sure you have your protections correct.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we could have the Constitution saying what it says and the governor get involved in this matter, that don't speak well for Cayman.
Which is why I posed the question: would you feel okay then if you had an issue understanding the roles of that office and the role and the responsibilities of the role holder? Would you then go and make a complaint when they themselves are somewhat being pressured?
Right.
Then where do you go? You see?
Yes, it leaves you in a situation where you're helpless. But,
Correct.
But you see, here's the problem. What the public needs to be mindful of is to not allow a government to design a system that puts you between a rock and a hard place. We need the system designed in such a way that when the requirement for them to act lawfully and rationally and proportionate is in question,
Mm-hmm.
that there is a procedure that we could follow, and we know that we're going to get fairness out of it, right? Whether we're right or wrong, but we want to know that we're going to be treated fairly in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that doesn't happen, the resentment that will grow won't be good for us as a country.
And then we will all get, in trouble because of anger. And it's bad when you're not educated or understand, because if you understand what's happening and know your rights, know the laws, know the Constitution, and breaking that down in legal terms, then you can't. Anger is to a different level. You understand?
Yeah.
But then anger, when you have no clue, that becomes almost cannibalistic.
Right.
When you get somebody who's informed, educated, and know where they're coming from, they can get their point across with poised, straight tone, but you get the message. Now you get an ignorant person, not an empty barrel, then it's totally different.
Yeah. There is one thing. This is like sort of disconnected but relevant to what we're trying to
get
explain.
across. Mm-hmm,
and that is that you see how when you take a bill to the House, it lays out the objects and reasons of the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the UK, those objects and reasons get included in the act after it's been enacted.
Mm-hmm.
In the Cayman Islands, that does not happen. And the reason why that's not to the benefit of the Caymanian people to do it the way that we do it here is that when we're reading the legislation, we don't have those objects and reasons there to guide us about what it is the legislation is trying to achieve.
Like, what was the fault? This is the current law. This is the issue. Right. This is what's recommended. This would be the proposed outcome, so you can have it all on one table.
That's right. And now I've heard the rebuttal where they say, well, yeah, but what is it provided with the bill? So go look at the bill. But the problem with that is many times significant changes take place at the committee stage that wouldn't be reflected in the version in the bill that was sent to the House.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not an accurate picture for the public to be able to rely on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my view, I've advocated that be changed, because you can't expect to just throw information out there, and if the public doesn't understand it, well, too bad.
It's their loss.
That doesn't work. Anyhow, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye. Sure. Bye-bye. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening. I'm curious if Jenny is still on the line.
He just left, but he's listening.
Oh my goodness. I wanted him to stay on. Okay.
Go ahead. I'm quite sure he'll call back, because I have another one on WhatsApp that we're going to be calling to.
So that you can join in on the conversation. My question is, I want to make sure that I have a fair understanding.
You want me to see if I can call him back? Let me see if I can merge you two so we
Sure,
can
by
get.
all means, because I'd like him to provide input on basically what I'm trying to clarify.
Hold on a
right?
second. Hold on a second then.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Let's try this. We're going to try to get Denny back on and merge the two calls so that he can be a part of the conversation.
Howdy.
Howdy, you've been requested. I'm merging you with another caller. Caller, are you hearing me, Tisha?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
There you
Hi.
go. Hi, there we go.
As they said in truth, he was present, thank the Lord.
Go right ahead, my love.
So, reading the what was put on CMR by Renee, right? My understanding of what took place is that they were HR related complaints made against Ms. Rolston as to the way that she was handling matters, the way that she was talking, behaving, and whatnot, right? And that is what led to this much bigger investigation, assuming, I guess, that there's not an HR person in that office and whatnot. And that is just a very obviously quick summary of what my understanding is. Am I correct? Or did I read that entire thing wrong and misunderstand?
No, you didn't. But the purpose of me not necessarily focusing yet on exactly why that article has come about and why Her Excellency the Governor felt that it was warranted for her to get involved. I wanted to provide context and the importance of the office of the ombudsman, the role of the ombudsman before going into the specifics to avoid people getting lost into thinking it's personal. And I want to make sure people understand, because then in between the lines, if it is something very trivial or menial like that in an HR matter, then there's something bigger afoot. If you get what I'm saying.
That is exactly
there
why
we go.
I wanted
there we go.
to make sure that I was not missing.
No, you're not.
An entire.
No.
I don't know. I was like, I have got to be lost. There's no way that this can be. This is what this is about. And I know that Denny is extremely versed in these things, and even more so the Constitution. I was like, if I got this all wrong, can you please help me understand?
No, you haven't. Not based on the article.
Like on the wrong road, somewhere in the wrong country, on the wrong planet. But anyway, thank you very much.
You're not lost, but actually there's somebody who's going to talk about it that knows a lot more than I do about it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. Take care, Danny. Thanks for answering. Yeah, there we have it. And there was another caller, but I'm going to call that other one that was waiting. Just bear with me. So it's very interesting. Caller, both callers, well, the last caller, you're not wrong. And I didn't want to go there before giving you context and understanding the importance of the role. I wanted you to, there we go. I wanted you to understand exactly what was happening. And I'm glad that you got there, which is why it was important for me to let you know the role, the responsibility, the true meaning of independence, and give examples of exactly what the role is. Because when you think of judicial review, you shouldn't be scared of it at all. Hello, good evening, caller. Oh, there's a feedback.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you need to turn. There's a feedback that I'm getting though.
You're getting a feedback, and I feel like I'm not on. I was trying to call you as well, and then we connected, I think, on your call. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you. Yes. So you know what?
Okay.
Call back.
Are you getting a feedback though?
Yeah. Call back.
Okay, let me try to call you back then.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we need to understand exactly when somebody challenges it in she has that within her remit to make sure that what she's being alleged of is handled properly. Because when she filed this judicial review against the governor, exactly what I said, she believes that the disciplinary, to find out whether or not this is fair, or unfair or is even outside the law. And that's within her right. And it's also protected under the Cayman law and the Constitution. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind in regards to this? Very interesting.
Well, good evening, Sabrina. I think maybe in future we can have like a dozen people on, just, on the line and the call, because sometimes it's good to talk to you, of course, but sometimes to have a third party sometimes helps as well.
Yeah.
Now, Sabrina, it's very important that you brought this topic up, because it is something that I discuss with people from time to time off air, and I think a lot still needs to be done in Cayman. But let me start off by saying that, you see, first of all, I think we must make it clear that in discussing something that is in court, we can actually discuss it, but we just have to discuss it in a certain way. You see, under Section 11 of the Constitution, we all have the right to freedom of speech, to communicate ideas, and so forth. And we can do so even on matters that are in court.
Mhm.
What we have to ensure that we do, we must, and I'm looking at the provision of the Constitution here, Section 11(2)(a).
Mhm.
We must ensure that we discuss them in a matter which maintains the authority and the independence of the courts.
Fair enough.
So, in other words, you can discuss them. You can even say these are the pros and cons and so on and so forth. But you should just respect the independence of the courts. If this were not to be the interpretation, look at some of the things that happen in the US, the way they discuss matters in
Right.
court. That would not happen. So I just want people to understand that in Cayman, sometimes we tend to say, oh, it's in court, but I can't say anything. No, no.
Right.
In fact, a lot of times, what you want to do, you want to avoid the criminal matters, because the liberty of the
Correct.
subject is at
Correct.
hand, and so on and so
Correct.
forth. But in
Correct.
the civil matters, really, you can discuss them within those limits. That's the first point. The second point is, in approaching the issue of the ombudsman, is that under the Constitution, there's a lot of so-called institutions supporting democracy. The Ombudsman is one, the Human Rights Commission, the Anti-Corruption Commission, and all these other similar bodies. But these bodies are going to be very limited in terms of how they can advance democracy if, one, the governments themselves are not supporting these institutions,
Mhm.
or if you appoint people to these institutions who are, like Danny was saying, you are put there, but you are put there so that you don't oppose them. Then it means that they will not be performing the functions that they are
They're
supposed to be performing.
Mhm.
Exactly. And then again, this is another thing that Danny usually says. He says, well, until the people can use these institutions as instruments to challenge power,
Mhm.
you will not have really a full effect on accountability. So I just thought I should say that to begin with. Now, it's very interesting what she has been accused of, the ombudsman. Huh? I'm looking at the actual document which was filed in court.
Mhm.
I downloaded it.
Mhm.
And it has been summarized in the Campus and maybe one or two other publications.
Mhm.
It says a complaint that the applicant raised her voice and struck her hand on a table in meetings which took place on
Mhm.
2 specific days. A complaint that the applicant did not provide proper feedback on a manager's performance. A complaint that insufficient training or mentoring was given to a manager. I'll just read one more. There are 10 actually. I'll just read one more, a fourth one. A complaint that a manager was given inconsistent messages regarding his competence, and another one wanted to work from the United States, and she said, well, she was not allowed to work remotely, and that the other one was scapegoated. They are very, very generalized complaints. These things happen almost every single day in offices. Yeah. So I wonder how they can become an issue where she is being investigated. Now, what the law, the provision also says, or rather the suit says, the suit says very, very clearly, it says you can't investigate the ombudsman for these human resource type of issues. You can only investigate, exactly. You can only investigate the ombudsman if the issue is one that could possibly lead to removal, because that's what the law says. And so the governor, according to the lawyers, and I tend to agree with the lawyers, the law is saying the governor should investigate the ombudsman in circumstances where an issue of removal could possibly arise.
Okay.
And I don't see that any of these would arise to a level where you want to remove the person, because even if you go to the public service management law, they have put like 3 grades of like improper conduct. They put minor misconduct. This is something which can be resolved easily. Then there is a regular misconduct which might not lead to removal, but is serious enough to warrant some action. And then the 3rd level, which is the one that might warrant removal. So that if you use that as a yardstick, that should be applied to this as well. Do these really arise to that 3rd level where the possibility of removal arises? I don't think it does. Now, let me try to compare that with a certain thing that I had to deal with, just to show, to demonstrate exactly how I find this odd. I had a complaint against a judge. I won't call a name. The complaint against the judge was simply that I asked for a remote hearing. He denied me a remote hearing. In his judgment, he wrote that he denied me the remote hearing because I had asked for it shortly before the hearing. Now, he didn't explain what shortly was, but you could understand it to mean that maybe it was minutes before. The truth of the matter is that I had requested the hearing in a total of 13 emails, 13 emails, 2 months in advance. And 4 months before that, I even had an application made in court. And yet the judge said that I had never requested it. Okay. Now, to put it very simply to you, he lied. Okay. Now, I won't get into the background of my politics with the judiciary, but clearly he lied. So you know what I did? I filed a complaint to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice said, well, if you are unhappy, just appeal the decision. But I said, no, this is a question of misconduct. So I went to the governor, and that's the point I want to make. I filed a complaint to the governor, Governor Martin Roper, and I said, this judge has misconducted himself. You know what Governor Roper said? He said that this is not so serious that I should be involved. Oh, yeah? So a judge can lie, okay, and I have written evidence which will show he lied, because if you take his signed judgment and the emails, you will see that he lied, and you are saying that that's not serious. And you are telling me that if the ombudsman does these things, they are serious enough for you to be involved? Do you see the double standard there?
Yeah, it's a difference when you look at what's being in the public's media, in the media for what you've described and what is now real. Yeah, it's totally different. And that's the difference in the persons in the governor's role. Look at how that one was handled and look at how this one is handled. Yeah, it does beg to question.
Yeah, exactly. It is a little bit of a problem there. And then you see, I will tell you, for me, there are certain issues that I'm unhappy about regarding the governor's office as an office, the way it has behaved sometimes. Let me give you again an example. Basically, the point now I'm trying to make is a slightly different one, which is that the governor should heal herself. You know what the Bible says? A physician, heal thyself. Okay, you are investigating somebody because you are saying that they are not performing well, and you now want to get involved. But how has the governor's office been behaving? When I filed this complaint some years back, 2-3 years ago, I told the governor, I said, Governor, there is a provision under the Constitution where the Judicial and Legal Service Commission are supposed to draw rules to govern the way I complain. So before I complain, I would like these rules to be drawn up. By that time, they had been delayed for 5 years. You know what the Governor Roper told me? He said, okay, I will tell the commission, then they can go ahead and prepare the rules. The commission never prepared the rules. Another 2 years passed. They didn't prepare the rules. So you know what I did? Then I went to the ombudsman. And I said, Ombudsman, this is maladministration.
Mm-hmm.
When the Constitution says you should prepare the rules, they haven't prepared the rules in 5 years. And then when the governor tells them to prepare, actually, he didn't tell them to prepare the rules. He brought it to their attention, but he didn't push it. Another 2 years passed. 7 years altogether passed. You know what the Ombudsman did? Ombudsman found the Judicial and Legal Service Commission guilty of maladministration. Okay? Yeah, I found them guilty of maladministration. And then later on, in the same case, in the judiciary, I made an FOI request. And my record, which I was requesting, was deleted by the judiciary after the request had been made. Again, I went to the Ombudsman, and the Ombudsman found the judicial administration guilty of maladministration. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Then
That's two times.
2 times. Now, the third strike was I applied in the same case for a judgment in default. I filed the necessary papers. We were just coming out of COVID then, and they refused to take my papers. Okay, they refused to take my papers. Later on, again, I filed a complaint to the Ombudsman. The judiciary told the Ombudsman, oh, but you can't look into this issue because it's a judicial function. But Ombudsman Ralston said, no. This is an administrative side of the function. I can look into it. You tell this person why you refused documents that are valid. And what they did was they admitted that they shouldn't have refused them. So technically, it was also like they were found guilty 3 times.
Wow. So,
Now,
but what's happening right now is really with this judicial review for what is being described is really like the Ombudsman asking the court to step in and check, which means in their role for the purpose of this topic today is really once that application is filed in court, it is free of emotions. They're just they're not looking at politics, and it is just rules is what they're doing. And
exactly. Yeah.
So it's within her remit to do exactly what she's doing, as you've described.
Yeah, you see, the thing about it is that I lost my thought a little bit. What I wanted to say. You see, the governor can. Okay, no. What I want to say is this: what judicial review is about. What is she seeking? You see, judicial review is not intended to like step into the governor's shoes and then the court says, well, would we have made this decision if we were the governor? No. The judicial review is not aimed to remake the decision one way or the other. It is merely intended to find out whether it is lawful. Okay. Now, that is there's a little bit of a limitation there. There are sometimes, for example, a court will say, you have brought this action. We can't sit in the judgment seat to say, would we have made this decision? That's not our job. But we want to make sure that the governor acted within the scope of her powers.
Right.
Exactly. Because there are sometimes, for example, you've got a decision is being made by an authority, and there are like 3 possible decisions they could have taken, all of which are lawful. And if you satisfy that, if the governor satisfies the court that, well, I could have taken one of 3 decisions, but I chose option number 1, the court can't say, well, we think option number 3 was better. No. So long as the court is satisfied that any of those 3 decisions would have been lawful, then they leave it to the governor to decide which one to take, because this is the way they balance the separation of powers, you see.
Okay.
Yeah, because the court is saying, you are the executive, you execute the powers. We don't want to supplant you. But if you exceed beyond a certain point where we think we are not acting lawfully, then we'll come in. And in this case, I think it will be very interesting to see what the court says, because it will affect also any of these other bodies like Human Rights Commission and so forth, how their views are leaked. But otherwise, I mean, I have a lot of stuff. Maybe I should just leave it there. There are a lot of issues that I believe, in my view, the governor's office should assist the public with. For example, I can tell you there was no investigation about why my record was deleted. I asked the governor, I said, can you investigate this? Because you cannot allow a deletion to be made after a request is made, because clearly that shows bad faith. She never ordered an investigation. I asked for an investigation as to why the rules took 7 years to be done, and even then they were only done when the ombudsman threatened to find them in maladministration. Again, there was no investigation. I asked them to investigate why they refused to enter a valid judgment. The governor didn't order one to be investigated. I mean, I could give you so many. You remember the case of Doctors Express?
Yes.
Doctors Express, this was a lawful Caymanian business doing medical marijuana. And a number of named officers in government deliberately ordered a search to be done, and emails were revealed which showed that they knew what they were doing was unlawful, but they said, well, let us use this as an excuse to clamp down on this. And the judge, Justice Macmillan, actually, it came out in court, and he really condemned them. He said, this is totally wrong. What has happened since then? They won the judicial review, but they wanted now disciplinary action or even prosecution to take place against the officers involved. Up to now, there has been a resistance on that. The Attorney General has engaged 2 cases, they are fighting it, and so that is wrong. In my view, that once that had come out in court, some people should have been held accountable. You remember also the case of Mr. Makiva Bush, our good brother Makiva Bush. It was found out that when he was prosecuted, again it came out in court, they found that there were some people who really wanted him to be prosecuted, although the complainants in the end didn't want to take it further. What did the governor say? The governor said, well, let us have this investigated, and then we'll make some decisions. That thing has totally died off. Okay, we are not going to have accountability if we are going to have things like this. I mean, I've got others, but I'll leave it there. There are so many others which have not been done.
But you see, for the context of educating the public as to what this process means, it is why it was brought up. And I just needed people to know that exactly what has transpired is totally within her remit and what the process would look like. Now, the question would be then, oh my God, what happens then if one is for this, what is alleged, then is sided by with HE's office? How would that look? What look would the office of the ombudsman take on then, and the role of the ombudsman? So it's going to be interesting, the outcome.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to check it and so on. But I think we should we should watch it carefully and see what's going to happen. The ombudsman was appointed in April 2022. She's entitled to be in the office for 7 years. Her term is 7 years, and she is not entitled to a renewal. That's the way it's done. It's like the FBI. You're there for 10 years. You're not coming back, and that is really intended to ensure that you are as independent as possible, because you've got security of tenure, and then when you leave, you are not looking for a renewal. In my view, certain offices like the Attorney General, for example, with the greatest respect, I don't want to comment on the current Attorney General. Right. But you see, when you are in any country, if you are an Attorney General and your continued tenure depends on the goodwill of the existing government, you are always compromised. But before I hang up, let me give you one last juicy example. You might remember there was that judge. I can mention her name because it was in the papers all over the place. Justice Ingrid Mangatau.
Yes, I remember the name.
Justice Ingrid Mangatau, she was caught on West Bay Road. Again, I can give those details because they came out in court. She was found, she was drunk, she was in night clothes, she kicked over a sign, and she crashed her car. And then she was charged with drunk driving, and she was convicted on her own plea. And there's also some other story that she mistreated another lawyer, but that's another story. But what happened with her? Was she disciplined? No, she wasn't disciplined. What they did is they allowed her to stay in office for another year or two. And then after that, they said she had resigned so that she could seek other opportunities. But my problem with that is this. If you are going to be so tough on the ombudsman, why weren't you tough on Mangata? Mangata did something which was unbecoming of a judge. You should have just dismissed her for that, for doing something unbecoming of a judge. But they never did that. If anything, they praised her, the Chief Justice praised her, Governor Roper praised her, and then she left. And she bobbed up in the British Virgin Islands. The last time I checked, she was doing a contract for 1 year. So why is it that some people are treated with kid gloves on something that is clearly wrong and unbecoming of a judge? And yet this Caymanian, you are now saying that for these personnel things which you can deal with really by sitting in a meeting, you want to ruin the career of a lawyer who's been in practice for a long time. It seems wrong to me, but let us see what
the outcome.
The action comes
We
out.
We have a comment here. If this can happen to learned fellow like Mr. Baliki, can one just imagine what happens to the regular John Jane Doe Caymanian trying to pursue justice without proper representation?
Well, you know, that's one thing which I always tell people. I say, you know, when I fight the things that I'm fighting them because I hope that somebody who does not have my wherewithal, my background knowledge, can maybe benefit indirectly.
Benefactors.
Because this is really tough. I mean, I can tell you, for example, Sabrina, you know, when the Privy Council came to Cayman, you know that trip was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. One, the Privy Council themselves, this is my opinion, the Privy Council themselves were violating their own code of conduct in the UK. Their code of conduct says that they should not accept any hospitality from any person or any government if it might appear as if that will compromise them. And yet they were invited to come to the Cayman Islands. At that time, we had a number of matters. They were invited by the Chief Justice Smelly and as well as Governor Martin Roper. At that time, there were cases, one of which was mine, the other one was Katrina Anglian's case, which were going all the way to the Privy Council, questioning the behavior, for example, of Mr. Martin Roper. And yet Mr. Martin Roper is the one who approved them to come for a free holiday. And when I did an FOI on that, they said that the Cayman government spent 34,000 CI on each judge and their spouse, and the total which was spent by the Cayman government was $181,000. Do you see how that compromises the judges? They should never, ever have done that. I can also mention to you, Sabrina, there are issues which were raised. For example, one time in the Legislative Assembly, this was before you were elected. You remember there were issues, we used to be immigration TLEPs. They had announced that they were going to introduce TLEPs. You know, you come to Cayman.
Term limit extension.
You sign it. Exactly, you know. And the AG said, well, if you sign these TLEPs, they are going to be effective, like they will be legally effective. But when the time came now for the 8 years, those people now wanted to apply for residence. And they changed the policy and they said they should apply for residence. And the Attorney General changed his advice in the Attorney General in Parliament. They said, oh, I know that I had said earlier on that this would be legally effective if they sign it, but no, that's not correct. If we do not allow them to apply for permanent residency, they can successfully sue us. I remember Mr. Ezard Miller took him to task. He says, why are you changing your legal opinion? But it went, and that was the end. But again, was he ever held accountable? No, he was never held accountable. In my own case, I keep saying last case, but this one is the last one. In my own case, when I went to, when I sued this judge and we went to the Grand Court, the Attorney General filed a document in court. It's on the public register. He said that he and the Governor Roper were very, very concerned. They expressed considerable concern about what the judge had done, and they wanted that this matter should go to the Grand Court and there should be full disclosure of documents and cross-examination so that it can be determined. So, following that advice, I went to the Grand Court. You know, when I went to the Grand Court, what happened? The same Attorney General, the same governor, filed the documents to say that my case was frivolous and vexatious and it should be struck out. And it was struck out. And I appealed it all the way to the Court of Appeal to the Privy Council. I was not successful. How does the same Attorney General and governor who say that they are concerned about what happened and they wanted to go to a hearing change their mind? And then they say, you see, you are just a vexatious litigator. Again, I filed a complaint with the governor to say that you cannot change a legal opinion because that is contrary to the Public Service Code of Conduct, which says that you must act with integrity, conscientiousness, and so on and so forth. Governor did nothing about it. But anyway, let me leave you there. This is a very, very important topic.
Very important topic, but you leave more questions than answers because then the people are left wondering, what now? If we can't even trust the system, what's going to happen to us? Where is fairness? Where is just upholding the Constitution? Where is human rights come into all of this? If you are giving examples, oh my goodness, what do you say to a nation then who trusts the system? And with what examples you're giving, it begs to question whether or not it's a trusted system. This is just a general question.
You need to be able to trust the system. Now, I would have loved if all these examples I've given you, Sabrina, I would have loved it if I would have been able to say in half of those cases, people were held accountable. Because if you can hold half the people accountable, that's a pretty good system. But when you look at the way this is going, this is like a pattern of failure to hold people accountable. Let me say something. Let me leave this topic and to say something about that constitution and the bill. What Danny was talking about the objects and reasons of the bill.
Right.
Yes. You see, he has been a very big advocate of ensuring that of pushing that the objects and reasons should be part of the bill as published as it is in the UK.
Correct.
The other thing about it is that a lot of the objects and reasons, the way they are prepared in the Cayman Islands, they don't tell you much because basically they tell you clause 1 does this, clause 2 does this, clause 3 does that. But you are not telling me something that's not already in the bill. What the objects and reasons is supposed to do is tell you
highlight the problem
of the bill.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tell us
what
the problem.
Was the problem. Exactly. This was the problem, and this is our solution, and it is contained in such and such a.
And this is how we will make this solution by making this recommended, and this is how the law would read moving forward.
Precisely. And for example, in this bill, they don't quite do that. And then they haven't told us in the immigration bill, but that's another call because I've got a bunch of stuff about the immigration bill. The immigration bill, they should say, as a result of, first of all, this is the reason we're putting these measures in place. But also, this is what we expect to achieve. We want to reduce status grants, which is what I assume they want to do. We gave 1,500 plus last year. We believe that these measures will reduce the grants to about 800 per year, and this is how it is going to happen. But when you just say, well, you've put these in place, and you don't say what they are supposed to achieve, you haven't said much. I bet you, if you look at all those immigration proposals, I think they will have a very, very, very little effect on what they are trying to achieve. But
I heard you saying that this morning, and that is why I think people are asking for just a little bit more time, and they are feeling that the 28 days will not be sufficient. But I heard you. I'm just going to give. I'm interested to hear. They're going to be on Sandra's show on Friday, I'm understanding. So
on Friday,
and Sandra is bringing it. If it's not tomorrow, it's Friday. But Sandra will be bringing the show. I don't know if she'll be bringing it before or waiting for just one big one, because, you know, I was challenged or tasked yesterday with writing to the ministry, asking for a little bit more time and to really hear exactly what the rollout plans are going to be like for an educative perspective. And but when you really look at whether or not they're going to achieve what the mandate of the people were, just by grazing over it, and you have picked up on it, we're not going to achieve what the people are asking for. No.
I doubt it, because the people are saying please reduce the status grants. We want to live in
And you're not
harmony
going to
with
get
our
it.
brothers and sisters who come in.
You're not going to get
but
it.
we want to. Yeah, but I don't think they are going to get it with this and so on.
Nope.
And they need town halls. People need to really come out there and say what they want to say.
But I'll leave it to
Sabrina,
that
I
other
thank you.
platform. Thank you. Somebody's actually saying, would Mr. Balika consider writing a book on the travesty of justice in the Cayman Islands? That's a question I want to make you know.
I've already started, but I had to put that one aside because I'm writing a book on statutory interpretation in the Commonwealth Caribbean. That one is half written, but it is on the way.
Oh
Within
my
2 years or
goodness.
so,
I don't even know how you got time to comment on some of these platforms because you're always doing something. Thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Take care.
You take care.
Likewise, sir. Thanks. There you go. I'm hoping that puts it into perspective. And to be honest, let me repeat again, for the sake of this podcast, the whole idea was to break down just what I did with the Auditor General, to tell you the roles, who they answer to. And that was the purpose of breaking down the roles, the purpose of the Office of the Auditor General. But it's topical now because of what's happening in real time right now. Just to break it down so you would understand how judicial review works in Cayman, breaking it down so that you will understand behind the scenes in layman's terms as best as I can. So when examples like that from Mr. Baliki comes in, when Denny calls in and he gives another version or area of what's happening, you can read in between the lines for yourself, like the female caller called and scratching their head. Yeah. With context, with historical information, with you knowing what the roles are, who they answer to, the importance of independence, what it means to you, everyday citizen, I don't have to say anything. It speaks for itself. And the female caller made it make sense. Danny, so a judge can drive drunk or lie without punishment, but the ombudsman is being investigated because she raised her voice. Question. Well, really, with everything that was digested and because of the importance and the nominations has actually been, the deadline has been extended. You know what? Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Infrastructure is more than roads and buildings.
It's our lifelines connecting East End to West Bay, Cayman to Little Cayman, and the Cayman Islands to the world.
It established the route to get our children to school, keep our hospitals powered, and support our businesses every day.
Through hard work, ingenuity, and perseverance, people make that happen.
From the early pioneers who paved the first paths and laid the first pipes,
to the innovators who modernize water, energy, telecoms, ports, and our airport.
They're the quiet hands that build resilience.
And the vision that keeps Cayman going strong.
Now it's our turn to recognize them. Know someone who built, maintained, or improved the Cayman Islands we love?
Nominate them today at gov.ky/YSCH. Click Nominate Today.
Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with me. There is a lot to really digest, and that is why I felt it was important for me to get that PSA out. And as we continue with this topic and just giving an awareness on exactly the role of the ombudsman, what's happening, and let's call this movement a little bit for civic awareness, yeah? For pretty much dissecting and asking hard questions, for standing up, just standing up. Not for personalities, but actually for principles. Because in all honesty, democracy doesn't just live in elections. It lives in the quiet offices where someone dares to say, this isn't right. So let's look at it as defending defenders. And let's get into a little bit of how judicial review works here in Cayman. Now, don't get scared of the term. Because some of you don't let the term scare you, like judicial review, like you hear, oh my God, you can hear the bars of a prison gate being closed, or you can see huge legal days and lots of money. But don't let the term scare you, because judicial review is just a way of saying that the courts can check if someone in power followed the law. Judicial review is not a trial. It's not about guilt or innocence. It's about legality. There's a lot of background. I'll be with you in a second. And whether a decision made by a public official or a body was lawful, fair, and within their authority. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening. What's on my mind is I'm burdened for my little island. And it's getting worse daily. And it's sad when we're taken for fools. And when someone want to stand up, I'm proud of them. You know, if you think you're mistreated, stand up. I don't know all the rules, but one thing I know when I see injustice, that injustice is injustice for me or anyone else. You go and you search, and everybody is afraid to open, even those that there that know you, because you know who the person is. They turn their backs and they knows it's wrong and they won't speak out. Something like what Dennis say, you know, when people is appointed a lot of time because of who appoint them, the person is doing wrong. They stay there and the ship going down, but they know that it's wrong. And I really praying because this is everywhere. People change the rules to suit them. I said some time ago, I had went to the same gentleman there when my jet skis were taken by the court for a case. And when the person that was in court told them they were my jet ski, they could see something else, but they were mine. Mr. The gentleman now, Smiley, he was there. Mr. One name named Focus or something like that, Foley or something. I write everybody. Nobody took up the time. They took my jet ski. This is the government. So if the government ill-treats their own citizen, who won't ill-treat them? You know, and these things make me see more clearly that it hits everybody because, you know, I know Sharon very well. And I don't know her to be unfair. And I don't know anything about the governor, but I'm saying for what I read into it, every day I see them inside of them. And even in England, they pound on their hands, they shout at one another. And, you know, and this happens all the time in legislative settings, parliament. Yeah. And people do that, you know. And I think there's a place that you could actually write and say, okay, you know, that's not good. People don't like to be screamed at, you know, warnings or something like that. But to the extreme is that, like, for me, necessary to go to that extreme. You know, I'm sure that there are times each one of us have lost or I mean, maybe frustrated with that person. Where is these people Caymanians that is complaining? And if it were the Caymanians, would they take the same initiative that they're taking now? You know, and this is our problem most of the time. Who are they standing up for and who are we standing up for? And we as Caymanians need to stop. Don't care who the person is and they're Caymanian, they're right. We need to stand with them. Because you see, we're so divided because everybody else is taking care of their own. And we don't want to come down to the part that this is Cayman, this is whatever, because it's too small for that. But at the same time, we have to stand behind one another. If a person is right, regardless of where they're from, we need to take a stand because it's out of control.
But
it really
caller,
is.
Here's the thing. Judicial review in this particular case or in general, right? Only works if we know it exists. And if we know how to use it, because a lot of the people do not understand how things work. And if we support those who dare to challenge the power, you know, not for themselves, but for the system, that's how you get justice. That's how people then are held accountable. But the fact of not even knowing it exists and how to use it is why we feel as though, oh my gosh, there's nowhere to turn. I am only putting a light on what the office is what is being done and breaking down the process. You know,
Yes.
so but
And
at the
that's
end of the
all.
day,
That's
people
all.
don't even know how it works.
No, they don't. But this is why platforms like this is educating the people that need to. I know now fight, and one thing here in the little island, if you fight, you're called a troublemaker or you're this and that. No, we need to stop worrying about who say you're troublemaker. If you have a point and you know it's a valid point, you're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for your people that don't have the education that you have, or
Mhm.
you know the standards for the churn that's coming tomorrow. So this is what if that black woman never sit on the bus in America,
Rosa
many things would
Parks.
not have changed. Rosa Parks, if she didn't sit on the bus because she saw the injustice, things would not have changed. She was a change. You know, we have to make the changes that is fair, and sometimes they're not fair. You know, sometimes people know somebody and they do something that even though it's not, but because of who it is complaining or who it is, it's whole. And then another person come like the gentleman was saying, and hey, it's done for them. That is not right on the no ground. Even with me, if it's wrong, it's wrong. And God knows, help me to accept that it's wrong. I might want different, but it's wrong. And stop breaking the laws to suit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
persons. And I put a post the other day that said, who do we go to? You know, and this is exactly what I'm talking. Who do you go to?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because
Mm-hmm.
when we go back to England most of the time at the ending point. If there's no justice here, we go back to England, and they appointed those first superiors here. So sometimes it's a lot going on in this little island,
And this
you
is
know.
where
Um,
frustration sets in. And then we were talking earlier on
yeah,
about ignorance and how
yeah,
people get angry, and being
yeah,
angry and informed, being angry and
yeah,
educated, being angry and knowing the process, understanding your rights and all that sort of stuff is different than anger when you don't know. And someone mentioned in the comments, this is why we have so much of our own incarcerated right now, because they can't
yes,
understand. And then their anger
no,
is lashed out. And then it
that's right,
knowledge is
that's
power,
right,
and not and
yeah,
it's there's so
yeah,
much there at our disposal that I
yeah,
feel that we would possibly have more unity if we would just all take the time out to sit down and to just educate, come on forums like this and
yeah,
just hash it
yeah,
out, share knowledge
hmm,
and experiences together so we
yeah,
all learn, and then
yeah.
we become a better informed society.
And you know what? I'm happy. Things that are coming to light, people that is bringing, because we have too much hide, you see too much skeletons here. Everybody's afraid to come out. You know what's going to be said. But listen, sometimes then it come out in a bang. You know, people take their life because they're so overburdened, or you know, they leave the islands.
Or to
Because
become
I
a
meet so many
recluse
people.
because they feel like
Yeah,
they've been ostracized by the
yes,
public, and then they're
mhm,
a wealth of knowledge, but then they're muzzled, they're
yeah,
shut down because they
yeah,
want to share and
yeah,
impart knowledge. They have,
yeah,
but then they're then blocked, blackballed, because they're educating the
yeah.
masses.
They are.
And that
So
is
you
why
know,
there's strength in power.
it
There's
is
strength in numbers.
in numbers. I know what you meant. It's like, you know what they do when one do and you write, the place is so small. So let's say I have an issue here and I spoke up here in this department. You know, by the time I'm supposed to go to another part of government, and they say, oh, don't hire Joyce, and she is nothing but trouble, and I'll leave her. So you leave that person outside there because of your prejudice, because you know what the person is speaking up for, and they just want to move on. They don't want to argue, they want to fight. And even when the person move on, they're still trying to keep the person down. Let the people be. If they decide to leave you, you had a fight and they say, you know what, I'm going from here. I need a peace of mind.
Hmm.
Let the person live. But no, here they don't. They don't let people live. They follow the people up and down, tell the people sometimes when you hear them complaining to you, your heart goes out and they tell you. And who is it most of the time? It's not even somebody born here. It's those, but they're the ones. But guess what? Our own better
Hmm.
look up. They better start seeing what is really taking place in this little island. There's so many that's leaving, and sometimes can I say I blame them? I understand. They say they're tired of fighting, and they've been to this one and that one and whatever. And I know they kick it further down. You send it to one, And they say, I sent it on to so and so. And then they said, so and so. And then they just do it to wear you out.
Frustrate.
The strategy.
Mhm.
The strategy is, we're going to get rid of her. Just pass it on. I got to make her think she's getting help. And they send it down the other place. It's few. I had an incident the other day, and a young lady came back and told me she was sorry about it. She knew that I was right, and she couldn't do anything else because the people said he wasn't. But she admit, I had to, just for that.
You had your right in your
it gave
hand.
me Yes, but not only that, just for her honesty, I have so much respect for her, regardless of what I've gained from it.
Mhm.
It takes somebody with really morals and compassion for them to come and say, because, they don't want to go back to, but I told her it was us, it was us. So this is the problem. Nobody want to they play these games. But guess what? See, if it was their family, or their loved ones or their friends, they wouldn't feel good about it. So we need to be fair. And I don't know what's going to happen to this island if we don't take a stand. So regardless, I don't know, Your Honorable, and I know Sharon, and I don't know but from reading what it is, I mean, I don't see it merit, but then who am I? So I'm just saying that. But she feels in her position it's not. And for me, she's done the right thing.
Okay, there we go. Well, we just got to watch it.
My 2 cents.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay.
Take care.
All right, bye. You're welcome.
There we have it. Thank you for that caller. And we had another call that was calling. I'm sure that they will call back. But yeah, that is where we are on that topic. And I'm hoping that you will get the takeaways from exactly what is being shared here. And when you do the judicial reviews work, hold on a second there. When you look at how judicial review works here in Cayman, from a step-by-step. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speak. What's on your mind?
Good evening. Okay, I don't want a song face there.
What happened?
And I don't want nobody calling me stupid, but I want to ask just 2 questions. Because they say if you want to know something, you need to ask, right? Okay, I don't know if he still listen. I don't know what he name, but I hear people calling him Baliki, and I hear people calling him Balika. So I want to tell me what is his right name, because I like to know, because I like to call people by the name. No disrespect to him, but then I want to ask him one other little question. I only got 2. That's the 2 questions I want to ask him, because I like him and I'm not disrespecting him, but I want to find out his name Baliki.
How it's pronounced. Yeah. Okay. What is it? How do you pronounce his name?
I don't know.
No. That's one of your questions I'm asking.
I pronounce it Balika because I think I hear him saying Balika, but then I hear some people saying
Baliki. I hear it too. Either or. But I'll ask for clarification. And what was your other question?
And then the next question I want to ask him, can he come back to the Cayman Island? I'm not going to tell him why I asked him, because I'm hoping to see him one day, but I just want to know, yes or no, can he come back here?
Okay, I'm quite
sure. I know why I asked it, but I don't want to be flogged because I'm the wrong one to flog. And no disrespect, like I said, but I hope that I will meet him one day, and then I will tell him why I asked the question.
Okay, well, okay.
I know he used to be here. He's a very educational man. I like what he say. I understand what he's saying. He sounds like he know the law. He know what he's saying. But I just want to know if, I'm not going to say why I asked him if he can come back here.
Okay.
I have a reason, but I don't want to air it. I just asking him.
The correct.
And I don't, if he can or he can't, it is, like, he would be afraid to say. But that's all I want to ask.
Okay.
I like to know and then it's something, but when I say something, I like to know. I don't try to speculate on why here. I like to get it from the horse's mouth.
Okay.
Then if I hear him say it, well, then I know what I can say or whatever, because I know it's fact.
Well, on his behalf, and as just stated, the correct pronunciation is Balika, Simamba Balika.
I thought it was Balika.
And he's asking me to give you his love.
Yes. I know I heard Balika.
Balika.
Not Baliki.
It's Balika.
The A. It ends with an A, Balika.
Yes. Simamba Balika.
Right on that. And then the next question, I want him to answer me that. And then, like I said, I hope to meet him one day, and then I'll tell him the reason why I asked. And then I know why I asked him that. But like I say, I don't look at people too hypocritical. They like to jump, and especially anything I say, they like to bash and whatever. Everybody got their opinion or can ask questions, but I don't seem to be the fortunate one. Look like just like him, and they're ready to jump on me, and I will fight and I will defend myself.
There you go. Thank you so much. Well, I'm quite sure at some point he will answer you, be it directly or indirectly. But thank you as usual for your contribution, Miss Shelma.
Yes. Have a good evening, and I hear your friends, but sorry, we don't get friends. The one person we don't get friends rain.
Oi, well, don't worry about me.
The rain come out, they coming up more. But I think I sitting back then. I believe we are going. I can hear more. I'm going further in the bush.
Okay, no problem.
I don't think I can stay here, but God forbid, I hope that thing going break. I don't wish it to go nowhere, but sounds like poor Jamaica can get it, and they predicting Kingston, and that's where my best friend is. I hope she be okay. I'll call her.
Well, right now it's just up in the air with all over. I guess we literally have to watch the weather updates, update by update. Oh my God.
That song like that could be bad, because 1 minute it aiming in one angle, and then it looked to me like it was something like how Beryl was. Don't know where it won't go, or don't know what won't do. And then I understand it moving slow, and that's it. Once it moves fast, it might do a little damage, but it get out and go. But it's when that going slow like that, it bother you. That's when you can kill.
You're quite right.
I remember with the Mitch in Honduras, Jesus, that were over us for so long. Like that, she didn't want to go. Must been something he come for, but he couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But I just pray and I hope to God that everything is okay.
Yep. He's right there. Gotta keep the faith.
I see one blinking light now. I thought it was police, but it's somebody towing some kind of apparatus in the back. Okay, so
all right.
That's all right.
Take care, my love.
Okay.
Have a good evening. Stay safe. Balika. Yeah.
Balika, not Baliki.
Correct. All right, my love.
Okay,
take care. Yes, here we do. Here we go. And I know we're winding down to the end of today's episode because there's just so much to pack, but I hope that you were able to get some nuggets. I want to thank everyone for their feedback, for your concern, for just standing up, and your appreciation for just knowing exactly these terms, what the role insists or entails. And again, it goes back to what I said when the caller before Ms. Shelma called, is that, first of all, we have to know that these processes do exist. And then when you know that they exist, you need to know, as common everyday citizens, how to use it. And if you even use it, and what it's used for. And at the end, what we have to do is always stay informed. And the biggest takeaway of everything that I'm getting here as I prepare to deliver these shows for you on very informative topics, some that really all so far have hit home, the key takeaway is that a lot of us don't even know our rights. And we don't even know who protects them. And that unknowing is why a lot of us are not speaking up. We're not speaking up if we see unfairness or saying something. We're not speaking up and asking questions because you don't know your rights and you don't know who protects them. And when you have positions like this and roles like this, we have to show our support for independence. And we need to show the support that roles like this of the Ombudsman and roles of the offices of the Auditor General stay free from political pressure. Yeah, because these things are huge. And when you look at, we constantly use this word, Cayman and democracy. That isn't just about voting every few years. It's about defending the very same system that defends each and every one of us every single day. That's what's key. Yeah. So when you look at these two critical roles, And we are able, and I'm so happy that I was able to peel back the layers and understanding that the Auditor General may be the financial watchdog, that position follows the money. That position asks, was it spent wisely? The role of the Auditor General is, was it the money spent legally? Was the money spent in the public's best interest? But today, it took liberty to break down and talk about a different kind of watchdog, and that is the role and the office of the Ombudsman. Because that role in itself does not follow money. That's the difference. That role follows complaints. And what is happening in understanding the role to the person in the role then begs the question, are we doing our job? But not going in detail to what's happening. The key takeaway is that both roles, for the purpose of this episode, are independent. And both of those roles reports to the Parliament, not to cabinet, not to political bosses. Both are meant to serve the people of the Cayman Islands. Both roles are there. They are the reflection that pretty much you want to be there. If we lose any one of these positions, or if, let's say, their independence is even compromised, if their voices are silenced or if they're bullied, then you ask, who's left to protect us? The very systems that is put in place becomes questionable. But what we have to do is to not lose sight. And there is hope, because now I am seeing where a lot more are beginning to crawl out of their shells and are actually speaking. Yeah. Because what we have done this evening, we've journeyed through pretty much two roles, even if the majority of the one on the Auditor General was in a previous episode. And those two roles in Cayman's position, they are the most vital public watchdogs. One that follows the money and the other one follows fairness. But both follow you, the people. And that is what I want that's what I want to resonate with every one of you. Good evening, caller. Welcome back.
Thank you. One of the things that, some people find difficult to do, but it's important to do, is to look out for the rights of each other. So, like, if I was to just use an example of, let's say you own a store and I own a store, and the government was thinking about changing laws that affect businesses. But in the specific instance, the government was changing the law to affect your industry, but not my industry. Some people find it hard to understand why it's important for me to help protect your rights in your industry, even though it isn't currently affecting me directly. Technically, everything affects everybody indirectly. But the reason why this is important is because, as a society, that's what makes us civilized. If you don't do that, then you will have total chaos.
Correct.
And when you need something, help with something, nobody else is going to want to help you because you didn't help them, right? And it's sad, but it happens far too often. And I think we really need to see the importance of defending rights, because who knows, down the road you might want to get into a different industry, and the government might decide to pick on that industry,
Correct.
right? And you need help in addressing issues. But rights, so when you talk about the other part of it now, we're defending what's a right. A right isn't that we are allowed to do something by government. A right is that the government recognizes a right that we have.
And
the reason this is important is because it's a restriction on the actions of government, right? That's the important phrase right there. Because sometimes people think about rights as, well, what are we allowed to do?
Right.
And
Correct.
that's it's the reverse. It's what is government disallowed from doing. They can't interfere with your speech in this way or that way. And so the only way that you can enforce a disallowance is you need people with courage. You need a system that's fair, and if we don't help each other in that way, then they'll just pick us off one by one.
Do you
And the
feel
way
that?
that
Do you feel that the reason why it appears we're being picked off one by one right now is because of people just not saying anything, or fear of being picked off?
well, I think that's just a different side of the same coin, really. Because you have to have the courage
First.
to take risk, right? So because, okay, you might lose your job. Well, some people say, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I can't afford to lose my job. Well, but if you do that, what'll happen is over time, the situation will get even worse, because governments, in the bigger picture of things, we're not talking about 10 years now, we're talking about centuries. Over time, the tendency of a free society is to deteriorate into a tyrannical state, unless the public says no. In other words, unless the public says no, we're going to insist that the restrictions placed on you by the Bill of Rights stay right where they are. In other words, if you're not willing to defend your own rights, what it's going to result in is those rights being denied. Okay, and the quality of your life will just disappear.
Yeah.
So you might think, well, it's tough. I'm scared. But what you really need to be thinking about, it can be a lot worse if I don't
do anything. Yeah.
right?
What the saying goes, you stand for something or you fall for anything.
Right. And I have conversations with people sometime, and basically sometimes the way the conversation ends up is that people are essentially admitting that, generally speaking, people are selfish. That's not going to help us. If we just all wanted to do everything, defend ourselves all on our own, then we don't need this polity we call the Cayman Islands. It doesn't make sense to be a part of a system that doesn't work and that only injures you and that things only get worse. That's not rational. The reason why we come together is so that we could make our lives better.
Mhm.
Sometimes making your life better means you have to fight to keep something in its proper position.
And you got to get uncomfortable. It's going to get uncomfortable
right.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so
right.
much. Okay.
All
Have a good evening as usual.
You too.
Yeah. Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we have come to the end of another episode of Sabrina Speaks. And, you know, we've unpacked what these two roles mean, what they matter, and really and truly what's at stake when their independence is threatened or appears to taking on that whole characteristic of being threatened. Because right now, Cayman, oversight isn't just a technical term, you know. It is the difference between silence and justice. And as we've alluded to, based on all the comments, knowing your right, understanding the definitions of that, based on the context in which it's used, and the operational arm, the judicial arm, the powers that are lying within, yes, the difference between silence and justice, between power unchecked and power held accountable. And now we're seeing what is happening with our ombudsman challenging the process that she may believe undermines her constitutional role. We're not just watching a legal case unfold. What we are indeed watching and witnessing is a test of our democratic backbone. So let me leave you with this evening. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. It's a team effort. And I heard that in the last caller's voice. He has been championing that for years. And every Caymanian, from Spots to West Bay, from Bodden Town to Little Cayman, has a role to play. And that role is ask questions, stay informed, support independence, and when the defenders of fairness are pressured, we have a role to speak up, but come from an informed and an educated perspective. Because if we don't defend the defenders and know exactly the devil's in the details, we're going to know those details. Who will? Yeah, who will? But it has been a pleasure of me bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. And I just want to remind everyone, based on the importance of what's happening in our area and the latest that I shared at the beginning of this episode that was released from the National Hurricane Center, continues to give advisories on what is now Tropical Storm Melissa, but based on the forecast track that takes this system southeast of Jamaica, has a possible hurricane on Saturday. That's this Saturday coming, October 25th. A westward motion is expected, and the system could become a major hurricane on Sunday, the 26th of October, when the system is forecasted to be south to southwest of Jamaica. Now, based on the latest track, this storm poses no immediate threat to the Cayman Islands. However, given the uncertainty of how the system will ultimately track, residents are urged to continue to closely monitor the updates using official channels of information and to take advantage of the standby stations that they were opened as of today. And they're encouraged you to check your supplies, review your family plan. And there's going to be another update around 9:30, 10:30 tonight for the latest updates on weather. Let me just try to share this with you. You can actually visit the www.weather.gov.ky. I will post it here on the link below so that you can get the latest from our local media stations. But until tomorrow, have a safe evening. Be prepared. Make sure you call your loved ones and check on them, and especially those who are most vulnerable. For those who are living in low-lying areas, we're expecting some inclement weather, more rain. You know, our grounds are already saturated, but just think of your neighbor. Thank you for all of you who have stayed with me, who continue to be with me every evening. because it is definitely a pleasure to be here with you. Sometimes the topics are challenging, they're difficult to have, but these conversations must be had because we have to learn. We have to learn together in this space. And there's no sense of hoarding the information when you can help each other. Knowledge is power, and there's strength in numbers. Take care. God bless. Have a good evening. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.